Mitä?
Kiitos kun sä laitoit näin.
No ei se ollut iso homma, se oli ihan pikku homma.
Niin, mut kiitos.
Joo.
Tärkeät jutut, kun mä en näin itse saa.
Joo, mutta kyllä mä tommosia teen sulla aina. Niin.
Joo.
Tiedätkö sä miten paljon hyvää mulle on tehnyt se, että mulla on perhe? Tiedätkö sä? Se, että mulla on perhe.
Joo.
Se on tehnyt mulle hyvää.
Niin on. Kyllä.
Ja sitten tietysti myöskin se seksi sun kanssa, että niin, sekin on tehnyt ihan hyvää. Mä tykkään susta.
Mäkin susta. Kovasti.
Miksi et soittanut mulle? Sun piti soittaa mulle.
No olisin soittanut, mut katon nyt tätä näin, niin kesken.
Okei, no joo. Mä otan noin hulluuslääkkeen nyt kohta. Ja...
Ota.
Joo. En mä saanut unta.
Joo.
Antti laittoi tuolla julkisesti viestin kokoomukselle ja ilmeisesti kokoomukselle, kato kun niin mä laitoin sinne kokoomukselle viestin Antista ja Antti laittoi sinne viestin, että venään nyt kun mä luen sen, kun mä löydän.
Se on mielenkiintoinen.
Venäs nyt, mitä se laittoi? Ootas vähän. Mistä se on? Pieni hetki. Missä se on muuten? Tossa. Mikäs tää on? Onko se tää? Ei se ollut tää. Ootas vähän kun mä koitan löytää se. Antti Jussin viesti. Automaattinen vastaus. Missä vitussa se on se?
Onko se autofirma vastannut?
Ei se on vastannut. Mä ehtinyt soittaa sen. Tässä on Antin viesti. Veljeni on vakavasti mielisairas. Piste. Olkaa hyvä, älkää vastatko. Piste. Yritämme saada häntä hoitoon. Terveisin Antti Laine.
Aivan. Niinhän ne yrittääkin saada.
Joo. Miksi mä hoitolaita? En mä oon tehnyt kellekään mitään, enkä uhkaa ketään, enkä... Niin.
Ei ne sua hoitoon saa.
Joo. Mutta kato, kun mä laitoin se teksti, minkä mä kirjoitin Antista, mä laitoin sen kokoomukselle. Niin se nyt... Tiedäks?
Mitä?
Joo, Antti nyt säätää. Se on hävinnyt jo. Mä en tee mitään niinku... No, mä en tee mitään rikollista. Eiks niin?
Älä laittele nyt sinne mitään kokoomuksille viestiä tuollaista Antista mitään, koska se ei ole hyvä asia. Semmoista ei voi tehdä.
Aha,
Se
okei.
ei ole oikein. Sä voit kirjoittaa omia kokemuksia.
Nimenomaan, hei, mä oon Facebookiin kirjoittanut. Mutta se pöliä on, mulle tuli kopio, kato, kun se on niinku, en mä tiedä mitä se on säätänyt, eiks niin? Mulle tuli kopio sen viestistä. Saan mä vastata siihen viestiin? Saanko tuohon viestiin vastata?
Et.
Miksi?
Ei kannata. Ei kannata.
Okei, no en vastaa sitten.
No säästät itseäsi vaan, jos se...
No joo, mutta Antti on jo tuhonnut itsensä.
Niin.
Se on jo tuhonnut itsensä.
Niinpä.
Se ei vaan tajua sitä vielä.
No.
Eiks niin? Se ei tajua.
Älä tee mitään semmoista tyhmää, että sä vastailet. Älä tee sitä.
En mä nyt kysy luvan sulta. Eikö sä huomannut, että mä kysyn luvan sulta?
Aivan, joo.
Ja sä et antanut lupaa.
Mitä usko? Niin.
Tää. Sä et antanut lupaa.
Sä niin.
Joo.
Et sä niitä usko.
Kyllä mä sua kuule aika paljon uskon. Tiedätkö sä? En mä ketään muuta naista uskonut niin paljon kuin sua.
Joo.
Niin.
Se on oikeesti ei kannata
Joo.
mitään ikävää. Ihan oikeesti.
Joo, mulla on, mä oon nyt tää Vihdin Sanomat, eikö? Mä työstän nyt tätä mun lehteeni. Se on mulle tärkein asia.
Joo.
Niin.
Joo.
Ari laittoi mulle viesti, että onko sä lisää laatikoita. Mä sanoin, tuon vaan.
Eikä. Nyt ei enempää.
Mutta se oli laittanut sen viesti, joo. Mutta ne mitä jää yli, niin monet ihmiset tarvitsee laatikoita. Kun kaupat ei nykyään enää varaston laatikoita, niin mä laitan Facebookiin vaan ilmoituksen, että tyhjää muuttolaatikoita, että tulkaa hakemaan.
Joo.
Niin? Niin mä pääsin niistä kyllä eroon.
Joo. Totta.
Tehdään me sulle nyt erillinen makuuhuone, kun mä en piereskele niin paljon.
Joo.
Niin. Sit sä voit olla täällä, eiks niin?
Kyllä.
Mä haluan tehdä sulle niin kuin, että sä voit olla täällä.
Joo.
Niin. Mä haluan niin.
Joo. Joo. No niin.
Mitä no niin?
Nyt mä jatkan tätä katsomista täällä.
Mitä te katsotte? Mikä se sarja on?
Tätä sarjan nimi nyt oli. En mä tiedä.
Mistä se?
Tarina.
Mä haluaisin nähdä se.
Joo. Niinpä.
Joo, orjattaret on ihan kivoja. Tai siis... Niin. Okei, mut kulta, tuutteko te aamulla tänne pese autoja vai?
Tullaan.
Okei, asia selvä.
No niin.
Mä laitan letkun valmiiksi.
Juu, laita.
Hyvä, moi.
Hyvä.
Moi.
Moi.
Not passed down till finally, after 9 years, the 7 best legal minds in the country looked at this, and the majority 4 of them said,
the content of the communication is irrelevant.
these people are trying to extort from me, a human being, with all the same rights that they claim for themselves. A behavior pattern, a thought pattern, and an outlook on history which I will not adopt. The Canadian Criminal Code is very clear about that. To extort means to force somebody to do something which he does not want to do. And when I pointed that out to the police and to the prosecutors, because it is politically incorrect, I got the short shrift. Well, that was before the internet. 70 million people are waiting to be informed. And the electronic media has somewhat leveled the playing field. Because now little people have a chance to also challenge the big boys, so far still unfettered on an international medium. And this is no wonder to me that the forces of censorship represented by people like the Simon Wiesenthal Center, both in Toronto and in the United States, are storming the Senate, the Congress, and Parliament Hill, once again, to censor the hate mongers quote. Well, I would hate too if I was somebody that had conned the public for 50 years with nothing but lies posing as history. I would also be hating the message of truth.
The previous year, Ernst Zundel had met a California-based ethnic novelist at the Institute for Historical Review's 10th International Convention. Ingrid Remlin, also of German ancestry, had experienced World War II as a refugee child from the Ukraine.
One really doesn't quite know whether one should have begun the book by your life in South America to get a better perspective.
English. Lebensraum. Fuck, that's good. Lebens. No, fuck. Lebensraum. PDF.
I'd like to do this in this interview because it, in a way, introduces you. It's such an incredible tale that things like these only normally happen to heroines in fictitious accounts of long forgotten histories.
Yeah.
In your case, it's basically looking at your life and your world through your own eyes.
When they met, Ingrid made a living as a freelance writer and convention speaker. She had never heard of Holocaust revisionism before, and the convention was her first exposure to an alternate interpretation of German history. Zundel invited her to come to Canada and see his outreach operation. At that time, they barely knew each other, but that was soon to change. At this point, the struggle between the Holocaust lobby and Ernst Zundel went underground. The street mob was mobilized against him. There were numerous demonstrations outside the Zundel house, during which paint bombs and plastic bags with feces were hurled against the building. Toronto police warned Zundel that a price of $800 was set on his head. Posters by the thousands calling for Zundel's assassination appeared all over Toronto. These posters showed his face in the crosshairs of a rifle, giving his address and instructions on how to build a cocktail bomb.
What these people are hearing is not to their liking, and it's designed to be not to their liking, because they are not nice people. They are not nice people.
Today is Siege Day, Demonstration Day, at the Voice of Freedom. What we have outside our building is a demonstration by a motley crew. These are what they call the anti-racist activists, which were financed by the Metro Toronto City Council to the tune of $8,000. So what you actually see today is what $8,000 will buy. State-financed intimidation. They announced on their posters they're going to have a kosher barbecue. We will continue to inform the world. It is our right. It is in Canada constitutionally guaranteed, and we will not be easily silenced or muzzled. And the only way that I'm going to leave this place where I have lived, worked, toiled, thought, and spoken and broadcast for the last 38 years is in handcuffs or in a coffin.
On May 8, 1995, on the 50th anniversary of Germany's surrender to the Allies, ending World War II, the Zundel House went up in flames.
that there is a very big war going on. There is violence being done against the rights of people who want to just speak their mind. It doesn't matter what you say, it's who you are. And once you've been vilified, they want to run you out of town, destroy you, take your job, destroy your business, and create absolute hell in your life. Why? Because it'll be a salutary lesson to anyone else who dares to raise their hand in disagreement. What's the difference between this and any other totalitarian regime?
Both he and I had been wartime children. We know what war not only looks like, but smells like. And when I walked into that house, that smelled of war. And I thought, you know, here we are 50 years later and we are still at war. We were sitting and having breakfast, and Ernst saves anything that he can save. You know, he doesn't ever throw anything away. So one of his morning robes had survived the fire. The house was awful. There were big holes in the ceiling and it was raining in there. And he says, sure, everything survived, even my handkerchief. And he pulls it out and he pulls a half-burned envelope out of his pocket. And he says, some supporter gave this to me prior to the fire. And we had talked about the fact that I was really struggling financially there in Toronto, in San Diego. And so he looks at this, half of the bills are burned, and he says, you want to take it? And he gave it to me, and it was $750. And I looked at him, I said, what do you want me to do for this? And he says, why don't you start a website? And that's what I did. I took that money and I went and I did some seminars and slowly learned the construction of a website. He had absolutely nothing to do with it. In fact, he was so busy rebuilding the house, dealing with all his enemies and so on. He was barely aware of what I was doing. I called it the Zündel site. I wanted to do something for the cause. So that he was later put on trial by the Human Rights Commission for that website is ludicrous. He had nothing to do with it. He had nothing to do with it. I did it. I was actually sore at him that he didn't help me more, especially after the censorship came, when Germany got into the act and blocked not only my website, which happened the next year, but the entire webcom server.
By early March, the government of Germany was beaten back by university student volunteers all over the world who copied the Zündel site content and mirrored it on their very own websites. The cyber dogs were being called off. The Zündel site had won the day.
You know, I did not appreciate that when Ingo Dreamland started out.
Really?
These programs, yeah. No, in the beginning I thought, number one, how many people will know about this website? In the beginning it looked as if the internet was not going to pay for itself, you know, it just was not cost effective. But along came our enemies who were utterly spooked, you know, upset, because they sniffed like people that are cornered, liars about to be found out. They struck back at a time when we were not even ready. Ingrid was just learning, and I was a dumb clock sitting up here in Canada.
Ingrid Dreamland.
Yeah, she was as unprepared. Certainly, I was unprepared for the reaction. And what happened is, the enemy's actions against us made the Zündel site world-renowned. 1 million German subscribers to Deutsche Telekom suddenly were cut off. It was amazing. Every hour I got these reports faxed to me, telephoned to me. There is now a mirror site in Stanford University. There is another one at MIT. There is another one in Texas. There is another one in Pittsburgh. It was a dream come true. And so I was sitting back in Toronto. I had calls from Magdeburg. I had calls from Munich. I had a fax from one of Germany's most decorated World War II heroes, and from Frankfurt, and then we had a call during the night saying that now there is one of your mirror sites in Australia. Finally, one of them wrote a letter to Deutsche Telekom, and here is what he said. Dear Deutsche Telekom,
was signed by a man whom I have never met. And this is where we were very lucky, because not millions of dollars worth invested in propaganda and advertising could have achieved what this censorship attempt achieved for us. That's number one. Number two, her daily Z-grams, journalgrams that she sends out. I thought, because I know how much effort it is to write a newsletter, and she frequently writes Z-grams that are in printed form 7-8 pages long. It was a Herculean task, and of course I didn't know enough about this lady, but I honestly, quite honestly, thought there is no way that one person, with all the other work she's doing, could sustain such a tremendous literary effort, because it amounts to approximately 365 days a year multiplied by 6, 7, 8 pages. This is a massive effort.